Have you ever felt a calling on your life, a nudge towards something bigger than yourself, and your immediate reaction was, "Nope, not me"? If so, you're in good company. That's exactly where the story of Gideon begins, and it's a story for anyone who has ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or just plain not enough. Picture this: the people of Israel are living under constant oppression. For 7 long years, their enemies, the Midianites, have been sweeping in like a plague, stealing their harvests, destroying their livelihood, and shrinking their future. Fear has become the new normal. People aren't living boldly anymore. They're just trying to survive quietly, to stay out of sight. And in the middle of all this is a man named Gideon. Now, Gideon isn't a general. He's not a king or a celebrated leader. He's just a regular guy, and, like everyone else, he's hiding. The Bible tells us he was threshing wheat in a winepress. Think about that for a second. You thresh wheat out in the open where the wind can blow the chaff away. A winepress is a pit, a hidden place. He was doing this difficult work in the wrong spot, all because he was terrified of being seen. He wasn't lazy. Life had just taught him to be invisible. It's in this place of hiding, in this pit of fear, that an angel of the Lord appears. And the angel says something that must have sounded completely insane to Gideon. He looks at this man hiding in a hole and says, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Can you imagine? Mighty warrior. Gideon probably looked over his shoulder, thinking, surely you've got the wrong guy. He didn't feel mighty. He felt scared. He felt small. His reality was one of fear and survival, not strength and victory. And he responds just like many of us would. He's honest. He's real. He asks, "Pardon me, my Lord, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us?" It's a question born from pain. Where is God when things are this bad? Then he gets even more personal. He says, "How can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my family." That right there is classic impostor syndrome. It's that voice in our head that says, "I'm not qualified. I don't have what it takes. There has to be someone better for this job." Gideon laid out all his insecurities, all the reasons why he was the wrong choice. But here's the beautiful part. God didn't try to debate him. He didn't give Gideon a pep talk or a list of his hidden talents. God's response was simple and powerful. "I will be with you." That was it. The promise wasn't about Gideon's ability, but God's presence. Now, Gideon was human. He needed some convincing. He asked God for signs, not because he was trying to be difficult, but because the calling felt too big and he felt too small. He needed reassurance that this wasn't just in his head. And God, in his grace, met Gideon right where he was, providing the signs he asked for. Slowly but surely, Gideon began to rise, not because his fear suddenly vanished, but because his obedience started to become stronger than his insecurity. He took one small step of faith, then another. He tore down the idols in his town, even though he was afraid of what people would do. Later, when it was time to face the enemy, Gideon gathered a massive army of 32,000 men. He must have felt a little more confident looking at those numbers. But then God did something shocking. He told Gideon, "You have too many men." God knew that if they won with a huge army, they would think their own strength had saved them. So God whittled the army down. First, he sent home anyone who was afraid. 22,000 men left. Then, through a simple test of how they drank water, God reduced the army again and again, until Gideon was left with only 300 men. 300 men against an enemy described as being as numerous as locusts. It was an impossible situation, and that was the whole point. In that moment of total dependence, Gideon finally understood the lesson. God doesn't need us to feel strong. He doesn't need us to have it all together. He just needs us to trust him. The power was never in the size of the army, but in the presence of God. And with just those 300 men, armed with trumpets, torches, and clay jars, Gideon led Israel to a miraculous victory. The man who started out hiding in a pit became the leader who brought a nation into freedom. Gideon's story is a powerful reminder for all of us. Your strength isn't always loud and obvious. Sometimes it's buried under layers of fear, self-doubt, and the feeling of being overlooked for years. But God sees the mighty warrior in you, even when you're hiding in a wine press. He sees what you can't see yet, and he's in the business of calling it out of you. Your past doesn't disqualify you, and your weakness is the perfect stage for his strength. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. See you next time.